Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Standard Protocol. I'm your host, Matt Sutter. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate all of the new followership and love on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube. It seems like every day we're getting positive feedback from many of you out there. Please keep those emails coming in, either by way of the comments on any of those apps or by the email inbox, standardprotocolpodcast@gmail.com. Today is episode number 14, and we are actually recording this on Veterans Day. So for those of you who have served, thank you for your service. Thank you and your families for your sacrifices. We know the cost of freedom is never free, and what you've done will not go overlooked here on this show. So thank you again for what you do and what you've done, and your service is much appreciated. The first topic that I wanted to touch on today is employee turnover rates. And I read an article here recently from Awardco that it was a little bit eye-opening to me, just the percentage of turnover rates in certain industries. And the numbers they have compiled here are from 2019, 2020, and 2021. So you have the pandemic in there about midway in 2020, and there is a little bit of a spike. But for the most part, the 2019 and the 2021 numbers are one and the same. They're very close. And so just looking through some of these from 2021, some of these industries have some alarming turnover rates, and I was really surprised to see what I'm seeing here. You know, I've been hearing about the Great Resignation and how people are just leaving their jobs en masse and moving on to either greener pastures or families going back to having one member of the household working as opposed to dual income. And I wondered how much of that was true. But when you look at some of the numbers here, there's a few of these industries that really jump off the page. And I'll just go down the list here. In 2021, the construction industry had 56.9% resignation or turnover. Manufacturing, 39%. Trade, transportation, and utilities, 54%. The information industry, and I don't know if that's media or if that's IT or what that is exactly, but information industry, 38%. Financial activities, so these are your bankers, 28%. Professional and business services, 64%. Education and health services, and I'm not even sure why those two are coupled, teachers and medical professionals, 37% turnover. Leisure and hospitality, and this is the one that blew me away. Leisure and hospitality industry had 85% turnover rate in 2021. That means if you went to a hotel last year and you went there again this year, 85% of the staff was new. That is insane. And then rounding it out is the government industry of 18%. And to me, from what I've seen, that's a little bit low. I think government's actually a little bit higher than that right now, but that's just based on what I've seen. So, then the article goes on to say, why should we be worried about this? Despite the fact that most industries are settling down and lowering turnover rates, employees are still leaving in record numbers as they look for better opportunities. But then it goes into what you can do to improve retention rates as an employer. And it lists three things here. And these three things blew me away because I as I'm reading this article and all the data and all of the things that it presents that were eye-opening to me, then it sums it up with these three things of what you can do to improve your retention. And I about fell out of my chair. Number one, support employee advancement. Did you know that 88% of people rank professional development and career growth opportunities as important when they're looking for a new company? Yeah, most of us in leadership roles did know that. If you're not treating employees as though you're developing them and training them for future advancement and they see, better things down the tracks, they're not going to stick around. They're not going to stay engaged. So that one's a no-brainer to me. The second one here, offer awesome compensation. Well, yeah, money, benefits, all those, compensation packages. Yeah, that's a huge part of what people are looking for these days. If you can't live on what you're being paid, you're forced into looking for something better. And then the third one is creating a culture of care, just showing your employees that you care about them. And that's everything from flexible paid time off to flexible work hours, flexible locations, meaning like a hybrid type setup, work from home, work from the office, whatever's convenient for you. And especially people with kids. And again, these are no brainers. And I look at an industry like the leisure and hospitality industry with 85% turnover. And I ask myself, okay, how can that industry ever be moving forward if all you're doing is onboarding people, training them, letting them work for a little while, and then sending them out the door just so that you can onboard more people and train them and send them out the door? How can an industry like that ever be moving forward? And how is it that the CEOs don't understand the fundamentals of support employee advancement, offer awesome compensation, and create a culture of care? Those are the three remedies. According to Awardco, those are the three remedies for this high turnover. I read articles like this all the time, and I just scratch my head because I'm, the high school education guy here. And I see that we are not treating our people. Those of us in leadership roles are not doing a good enough job of reaching our frontline people and treating them like people and understanding their needs and their concerns. And again, you have most of the industries I read here are, 40 to 50+% turnover. That means one of every two employees is unhappy in your organization. And to me, that is unacceptable. I don't understand how we promote so many people in so many industries into management positions where they don't understand the basic fundamentals of making their frontline workers happy every day. And, is there going to be that certain demographic that you can never please no matter what you do? They're all, they're the type you hand them $100 bill and they're going to complain because it was crumpled. There is that demographic that is hard to please no matter what you do. But some of these numbers and the simple remedies of just treating people like people, and we use the term human resources a lot, and I'm starting to get a little bit annoyed with that because our humans aren't resources. They're humans. They're people, and we need to treat them like people and not like resources. And I always find it interesting when I read articles like this. And it just seems like such a simple solution that if the upper management is about to do something that is going to catastrophically affect the frontline workforce, then those of us in middle management positions have got to raise our hand and say, hey, wait a minute. Before you do this, and you may tell me to go away, you may tell me to shut up, but before you do this, I want to be on record in saying this is a bad idea. It's going to kill morale, and here's why. And if our middle management aren't comfortable enough to speak up, then to me, that's how we arrive at an industry that has 85% turnover, because the people running the show clearly are disconnected from what the frontline folks are dealing with on a daily basis. So food for thought. Those of you in leadership roles, if you're a CEO and you're listening to this, please be more connected with your frontline workers and make sure you're in tune to what their problems are and what they perceive the work environment to be, so that you're not running one of those 85% turnover companies or industries. If you're in middle management, please make sure you have the ability to step up and to speak when there's a decision coming down the pike that is going to affect everyone adversely. That's why you're in the middle. You're there to take the marching order from the CEO, and you're there to address the frontline, the frontline workers' concerns as well. And you're there to find that middle ground where everybody can be happy and we can still go out and meet the organizational goals and objectives that are there for us, while at the same time not killing the morale of our people that are actually out there doing the heavy lifting every day. So it seems very simple, but those middle management positions can be the toughest ones sometimes. But again, you're there for a reason, and you've got to be able to walk that fence and find that balance between getting the job done with the frontline workers and also getting the messages to the CEOs and the upper management that they need to hear. And when you've got an industry that has 85% turnover, there are some things the people at the top need to hear, trust me. So with that, I would love to hear any of your stories about turnover in companies that you've been in. And I'll even get into one of my own here anecdotally. I remember years and years ago when I was in the corporate world, I did a very brief stint in the corporate world. It was about 4 years, and just decided it wasn't for me. The first 3 years that we were there, we got holiday bonuses. And the fourth year, after we had a record year, after we killed it, they made the decision not to give us a bonus that year. And if you think that decision didn't upset some people that were out there doing the hard work every day, you would be incorrect. People were furious, and people spoke their minds, and people, went to the corporate CEOs and expressed their frustration, and it did nothing to move the needle. And so you had some people that were at that time, I don't know how many people jumped ship over that issue particularly, but there were a lot of people that if they were on the fence about leaving, or if they were looking for greener pastures, that decision solidified it for them. They were out of there. So definitely, if you have stories about that, if you have instances from your own industry or from your own experiences in life, please let us know. Please send those to us and we'll read them on the air. standardprotocolpodcast@gmail.com. And, if you're CEOs and you want to weigh in on, why some of the decisions are made and why, what your take on this great resignation thing is, by all means, feel free to weigh in. And I'd like to put that perspective out there as well. So standardprotocolpodcast@gmail.com. And we will move on to the next topic. So I sound angry today, but I'm really not. I'm actually in a really good mood. It's Veterans Day. I'm supportive of our men and women that have served. So I don't want to come off as angry on this episode. And that last topic got me fired up a little bit, but this one will not be as bad. This one is kind of in line with the last one, with the great resignation. Should you be considering, moving to greener pastures right now, given where everything is in the economy and in the world right now? And some things to consider. And again, it depends on who you talk to, whether or not we're in a recession. I say we're in a recession. Some people will debate that, but if we're not in one, we're headed to one. It's pretty much inevitable at this point. The thing you have to consider about changing jobs in a market like this is that as soon as a recession hits and people, companies start to be a little bit concerned with the future, the economy, where their bottom lines are going to set. One of the things that they can do is they can either freeze jobs or they freeze hiring, or they can start laying people off. And so if you're putting in your 2 weeks notice now to take that job somewhere else 2 weeks from now, there's a chance that hiring could freeze between now and then, or, you may be caught in a bind there. Or if you do move over and successfully make the transition to another employer, there's really nothing saying right now that 3 months from now, when we do go into a full-blown recession, that layoffs might happen, and obviously when layoffs happen, the people with the least seniority are the first ones to go. You might be out of a job. So if you're looking at making a move for an insignificant pay increase, or something that's just marginally better, you may want to rethink that right now, and you may want to check your timing on that and see if it's really worth it or not. If you're looking at making a move that seems pretty solid and it's for a massive pay increase or something, then okay, it may be, you may be moving to a safer company. It may be easier to make that move and less risky than just moving somewhere for a smaller incentive. So things to consider. I'm certainly no economist. I'm certainly no expert on recessions. But government industries, tend to be pretty much fail safe with recessions. Obviously, public power industries, things like that, public service. There are a lot of industries that tend to fare pretty well in recessions. So those are areas to consider if you're looking at leaving, something like retail, or, something, even the railways, like the railroad. I mean, there's ups and downs there with recessions in supply chain and moving goods to and fro. So just consider those things where heading into a recession, there's a lot of uncertainties, and try to make a move to something that's going to be a little bit recession proof, as that's the direction it looks like we're heading here. So with that, if there's anybody out there who's highly educated in this area that knows more about economies and recessions than I do in the job market, again, feel free to send us an email. We'd love to have your expertise. We'd love to bring you in as a guest and talk to you and interview you on all the ins and outs of navigating these things in the quote unquote great resignation era that we're in right now. But please, standardprotocolpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Okay, and the last thing that I wanted to touch on today, since it is Veterans Day, I don't want to make it about myself because I did not serve. I'm not a veteran myself, but I do admire and respect those who did. Again, I wanted to come back to the topic that I generally like to get in at least once a week here, is mental health, and how is everyone doing out there? Hopefully, those of you that have endured combat and have been out there and served your country and fought for our freedom, hopefully you're doing okay these days. Hopefully you have resources available to you if you need them. We all know that in the course of your service, you've seen things, you've done things, you've been through the unthinkable, things that most of us here stateside will never have to endure. And thank you very much for your sacrifice and going and taking on that stuff for us, for the betterment of our country. But the reality of it is that a lot of that stuff you do need some follow-up assistance with, and you do need to speak to somebody, whether it's a core group of people that you served with, that you hang out with, that you guys swap stories with, or whether it's a trained professional or counselor that can help you through and relieve some of that stress for you. At the end of the day, we've all done things in our lives that have triggered some type of stress in us, and there's nothing wrong with admitting that. There's nothing wrong with seeking out help. And again, if you have questions or you need access to some of those resources, let us know here at the Standard Protocol. That's one of the services that we provide free of charge. We can link you up with a trained counselor in your area and get you some assistance that you need. Just shoot us an email, standardprotocolpodcast@gmail.com, if you need an assist. And otherwise, we just encourage everyone to take care and be safe out there. Look out for each other. The people you've served with, the things that you've seen, the things that you've done, and reach out to them every now and then. Make sure they're doing okay. Make sure you're doing okay. Help each other through the aftermath, because We all know that you've done a great deal to serve our country and to serve us all, and it is much appreciated. So on that note, we're going to close out episode 14. Happy Veterans Day, everyone. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch you on the next one.